Welcome to the Andy Dare Show. This is episode 49. This week I'm joined by photographer and podcaster and all-around funny man, Mike Carano. We discuss everything from rock and roll to neuroses to broadcasting and have a good time while doing it. Thank you so much for listening. Hey everybody, thank you so much for checking out the Andy Dare Show. This is my 49th episode. It's a huge interview with Mike Carano. He is a photographer. He's also a podcaster. He does the Loveline After Disaster once a week, right after the show Loveline. He's really funny. He's packed with neuroses, but he's also got chutzpah. And if you're going to have neuroses, you better bring chutzpah. And he's got chutzpah in spades. So it's a very funny interview. We talk music. We talk all about his whole journey. Whole bunch of good stuff brought up. But before we get into the meat of it, I'd like to bring up my awesome sponsors. First up, Father's Day is right around the corner. What better way to surprise your dad and perhaps get an awesome meal cooked for you by getting him the Man Grate. You want to achieve those dark grill marks that you just can't achieve on these little coat hanger-esque wire grates that come with your grill? Why not get the Man Grate? It's a big chunk of Detroit iron that goes right over your existing grill grate, and you're going to be cooking with convection instead of drying out your stuff with heat. And that's important. You want to keep, the moistness in when you're cooking a nice steak or a burger or a chicken breast. You don't want to be cooking with a hairdryer, as the commercial says, for the Man Grate. You want to be getting it through the actual steel itself, and what better way than with the Man Grate? Order now. You just go to the AndyDareShow.com. It's the right-hand side of the page. Click through the banner so we can keep the lights on here at the Honeycomb Hideout Studios. And, so it's a really cool thing, the Man Grate. And by Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue. Yeah, summer is right around the corner. If you want to have a cool party, a picnic, a luau, a pig roast, why not call up Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue? Obviously, it's a restaurant. It's going to be a 15-year anniversary coming up this November. But a lot of people still don't know that we do quite a bit of catering, too. And they do full-service catering. They bend over backwards to make sure that your party goes exactly without a hitch. And they do have these awesome pig roasters. They got smokers. They got, grills to bring out on site. Huge buffet choices. Huge catering menu to go through. Check it out. It's at UncleBubs.com. If you're in the area, if you're in the western suburbs of Chicago, it's 132 South Cass Avenue in Westmont, Illinois. And if you have any questions at all, just give them a call. It's 630-493-9000. Tell them the Andy Dare Show sent you for specials and offers. And by Secondhand Mall, also in Westmont, Illinois. I was just talking to a listener the other day about how my record store, Remember When Records, after 28 years last year, closed up and sold all their inventory to the Secondhand Mall that was next door. So now it's even cooler, as I mentioned on For Crying Out Loud with Lynette Carolla. It's even cooler now because you have a full record store and you have crackheads bringing in their many, stereos, interesting knickknacks and whatnot. So it's always interesting. The guys are super nice. It's a calm, relaxing environment. They also have a huge selection of musical instruments, power tools, electronics, computer gear. Pretty much everything under the sun is under the roof of Secondhand Mall. Check them out at 309 West Ogden Avenue in Westmont, Illinois. Give them a call. They buy, sell, and trades. Well, you could turn that stack of CDs in your closet into some extra spending money for the weekend. It is 630-810-9980. And visit them on the web at secondhandmall.com. That's 2ndhandmall.com. Tell them the Andy Dare Show sent you for specials and offers. All right, so that just about does it for the sponsors this week. I want to thank the sponsors from the bottom of my heart for being there, pretty much since the beginning. Had a couple cool things happen in the way of sponsorships and advertising that I'm going to keep my lips shut about right now, just because I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. But a lot of interesting things coming to the Andy Dare Show in the near future. Stay tuned to this channel. You are now rocking with the best. Also going on in the world of Andy, you can check out my Fiverr page. That's FIVERR, that's 2 R's, .com/Andy Darer. And I've got 2 gigs there. This is a cool website. You pretty much say, I can do this gig for you for $5. And that's, American currency. $5 will get you a mention on the next Andy Dare Show. Get your website or, business read out to, hundreds of thousands of listeners throughout America and throughout the world. That's only $5. Why wouldn't you want to do it? I do make sure that it's only, 350 character read, so it only takes about 30 seconds or a minute, but it's worth it for $5, people. Come on. They're going like hotcakes. But besides that, you can also get the USB drive. I've got the complete Andy Dare Show USB drive featuring the entire year of 2011, the first year I was doing this, all on easy-to-use USB drive. So it's a super cool thing. I'll send it out to you, just $5. You get like 35 hours of me yapping. You get your bang for your buck at Fiverr.com/Andy Dare. And also, you can also check me out every Friday. Usually, I took a week off here and there, but I'm on the Kevin Matthews Show. He's doing the podcasting thing, too. He's now on the Steve Dahl Network. He posts 2 episodes a week. It's a very cool hearing these guys without FCC guidelines, being able to really express themselves. It's also really cool not having commercials interrupting the programming. They got great guests coming on. It's just, it's back to the glory days of radio. It's just that you pay for it, and it's on demand whenever you want it, pretty much. So for the price of, your morning cup of coffee, you get Kevin Matthews Show, you get the Steve Dahl Show, and you get the James Van Osdol Show, my guest a couple weeks ago. So it's definitely a lot of bang for your buck. Go to Dahl.com, DAHL.com. And I believe if you sign up, you get a month for free. And you can, sign up monthly or you can sign up for the year. I think it's better for you if you sign up for the year. And right now I'm actually trying to pitch having an in-store for them, somewhere in our little neighborhood here in Westmont. So that would be awesome. Want to thank Kev for the awesome opportunity. Want to thank all my listeners for, staying on board these last 18 months. Want to thank all my guests for taking out time in their busy schedules to kibitz with, a young broadcaster like me who is pretty green still and still needs to put in his hours. So it really means a lot to me, and also want to thank all the sponsors. So before I go any further, I want to introduce you to my episode 49 interview with Mike Carano. Thank you so much for calling in, Mike. I'm a big fan.
I totally appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. It's been a while trying to get you on. But, I love the After Disaster. You always have good stuff to talk about on there. And you got a good ear for music, so I thought, why not ask,
Wow, I totally appreciate it. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, I just heard you actually saw Spiritualize, one of my favorite bands.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was good. I had no idea who they were. And some friends dragged me down there, and it was really one of these... Yeah, I wish I would have known about them earlier.
Well, because he's been around for a long time. He was
yeah.
He was part of the Spacemen 3, which was like an 80s kind of droney, druggy rock band,
Yep.
But that new album's pretty intense. You were right about the long songs, though. They always start somewhere different and end in a completely different way. I love that about them, too.
What was amazing was that normally I'm not too antsy for that. And I bought the record before we went, and I listened to a little bit of it, and I was like, it's not for me. But the show was just really deep, and it was it was a super groovy experience. But it was so intense. Like, I think the second or third track or song into the show, it was just the intensity was just unbelievable, and I was totally stone cold sober and into it, which was totally new experience.
Nice. Yeah, the singer there, he's been through some dark times. I know he had like pneumonia and almost died
Yeah.
about 5 years ago. And he's got a song on his last album where he's on a breathing apparatus and he's sampled that into the whole tune. So you hear him like chugging away on an oxygen machine, which is very creepy. So. But you went there completely stone sober. That's kind of original for going to see a spiritualized show. I actually saw them open for Radiohead all the way back in '97 for the OK Computer tour.
Wow.
It was kind of like we were in on a little secret before everybody else was, so that was cool.
Yeah. I love that. I love that kind of stuff, man.
Yeah, and you also said you saw The Wall or Roger Waters. I'm kind of catching them after their peak, but I've heard great things about that tour as well, right?
I'm telling you, I've been to a lot of shows in my life, and I've been to a bunch of shows that I just came back with this. You know how you have that feeling, that overwhelmed feeling like you wish everyone was there with you to experience it?
Sure, yeah.
And you try to like somehow get that feeling across, but it's never going to happen. You know what I mean? People can come back and tell me, "Oh my God, I had the heaviest experience at Dylan. You're not going to believe it." I'm like, man, whatever. But I would say in the last 10 years of my life, that was the most important show I've seen. And important, like meaning like inspirational and I don't want to go like too weird and heavy and go like, oh, it was life changing, but it absolutely was. It absolutely was. It
Was
was
that
just
album like big for you in your high school days too?
It was big, but it wasn't that big. It was the whole. It was like this weird experience where I just went, oh yeah, I see. What you can do, and I see like the whole. It brought the whole album into like I hated the movie.
Yeah.
I just didn't get it, and plus I don't care about fucking psychedelic shit. I don't care about that. But I don't know. It was like I just went, oh yeah, I totally get it now. Like I get what the record was for. It's for this. It's this giant show, and there was also something great about being there with a stadium full of people, which normally I try to avoid as much as possible, because it's too big. But the energy from all those people was just I mean, it was one of the most horrific drives I've ever had to the concert, and the concert was so incredible, it just washed everything away.
That's awesome. Did he do the whole album in sequence too? Or?
Yeah, but he shortens it. Like he doesn't do at least from what I can remember.
Some of those Siegs and stuff he leaves out.
Yeah, and he doesn't do all three versions of Another Brick in the Wall. He just does the one that was popular.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, the guy is like got to be in his 60s, and he's like he's he looks like he's in good shape, like Sylvester Stallone or something.
Yeah.
So my hat's off to him. Yeah. So you got the After Disaster. That's once a week now, right?
Yeah. We don't know what it is.
Gotcha. And you're still taping that at the Westwood One, right?
Yep. Yeah, we still go right after Loveline.
Well, Adam Carolla would always talk about that being like the most ghetto-y studio ever,
No, this one's nice.
Yeah,
this one's nice.
Because I saw footage of it and I was like, okay, what is he talking about? This one's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were. This studio's nice, and the other, it's the other one that was a dump. And this studio, like the first time I went there, it was odd because it's in a residential neighborhood. Like you're in a nice part of Culver City, and you turn off a busy street, and all of a sudden you're in houses, and then there's Westwood One.
Strange.
Just an unassuming one-story building.
Cool. How'd you guys get the idea to do like an offshoot show of Loveline?
It's a boring story, but God.
Was that Anderson or?
That was totally him. Yeah, I say no to everything. I went to a New Year's Eve party, met Anderson. He claims we met 10 years earlier, but whatever. He might be right. I don't remember. But he just said, "Oh man, hey, Dr. Drew, is kind of a fan of yours, and did you like how I tried to make it not seem arrogant by saying kind of? No, he's like, hey, Dr. Drew's a fan, blah blah blah." And then like a week later, we exchanged numbers and emails and stuff. And like a week later, he called me and said, "Hey, do you want to come by Loveline one of these nights?" And I said, "Yeah, anytime. I'm in town right now." So I came in that night and then got to hang out with those guys. And, one thing led to another. And we ended up doing a couple of episodes of the Film Vault, which is this other podcast, because Brian was in the hospital and I did it. And I'm sure it was horrible, my contribution, but it was fun. And one thing led. I'm trying to like condense this stupid story so it's not super boring. Fact is, we were doing the film vault one night. Anderson accidentally left something on, and we went out live over like 70 radio stations and interrupted someone's popular talk show. And we used tons of profanity. So we had to come in and formally apologize to the big boss at Westwood One. And while we were apologizing, Anderson goes, he brought up the idea for, hey, can we do something in the studio after Loveline? The guy thought about it, and then next thing you know, we had contracts, and we started doing it. So that was that.
That's awesome. One thing leads to another, and Brian got better, obviously, very well. So he took you back his spot at Film Vault, and then you had your own gig, right? That's kind of nice. So. Yeah,
it's total. It was. Yeah, I still don't know. I have a lot of frustration doing that show because sometimes it feels like it's a waste of time. I feel uncomfortable saying this on someone else's show, but there's when there becomes such a glut of something, I just totally check out and lose interest. And I was just like, why are we doing this? Everyone has a podcast where they sit around talking, and we're not special, and it's nothing unique. It's just three guys sitting around talking. But truthfully, it's very therapeutic, and I look forward to seeing those guys, and it's fun, And I'm honestly, honored by the fact that people take time out of their lives and listen to it.
That's how I feel like. I mean, I think we're kind of before like the whole podcast thing, actually. I mean, I think in 2 years there's going to be even more podcasts. Everybody's grandma's going to have one.
Yeah. Well, there's hundreds of thousands right now, which to me is too many.
Yeah, of course. But I think, a couple years, I think it could be even more than that. And you guys will be considered, it's going to sound corny and gay, but pioneers of that medium, a little bit. And Carolla's going to be the pod father. So
yeah, it's not going to be us. It's going to be the Jimmy Pardos and people who actually did it.
That's true. Yeah. I'm actually working with, have you heard of Steve Dahl? Please tell me you've heard of him. He's out in Chicago. He did the Disco Demolition in the late 70s.
I know about that, but I didn't know his name. I didn't know his name.
Oh, okay. Because I talked to Katie Levine. She hadn't heard of him, but that's because she's 23 and lives out there. But he's like our biggest radio icon. And of course, he followed the whole Carolla method, got shit canned from radio, started his own thing in his basement, and now I'm doing a music minute for those guys. So I think it's all taken part, So I really enjoyed doing it, and it is therapeutic, like you said. So.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have the same kind of mental issues I have, because even when things are great and something fantastic is happening, I still go into a sense of dread and what's the point? And I shouldn't do that. I should just enjoy it and be honored that I get, enjoy life and stuff.
But then I think people wouldn't want to hear a guy without any issues or neuroses. I think that would be boring, right?
Who knows?
I just put you in a corner there, huh?
Well, I thought nobody would want to hear me sober, and that's turned out to be better than before. Are you full-time sober now, or? I haven't drank in 6 months, but I've been smoking pot lately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wouldn't really count that too much, but.
That's I just sort of am trying it.
Like John Sally says, the guy hasn't touched a piece of animal meat in years, and he's got the best diet, the best health of anybody. But he enjoys, a little bit of medicinal marijuana here and there. So, but the guy is tall, and as Carolla said, tall people don't live that long. Yeah. So I was looking on your website. You got quite a history in this thing. I mean, I saw the video of Patton Oswalt and you, talking to Fabio on MTV, and what was that, 93 or something? Yeah, God, that was so long. God, I feel so old. Well, I mean that to me gives me more respect for you, obviously. So you've been in the business, you've been doing like comedy and stuff like that since the 80s or early 90s. Comedy. I was a manager of an improv and then a photographer. Oh, okay. A manager of what kind of improv place are we talking here? The Improv, comedy club. Oh, I got you. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean then I worked on a bunch of TV shows and stuff, but What kind of shows are we talking about? I started the show with Dennis Miller called Dennis Miller Live on HBO. Sure. And then I did fill-in spots for Mr. Show with Bob and Dick. I shouldn't call them fill-in spots because I worked on that show for 3 seasons, but it was kind of at my leisure. And then that show was so important in the mid '90s. It still is. I mean, it hasn't aged today. I mean, really. One of the greatest jobs I've ever had in my entire life, especially going from Dennis Miller, where you were walking on eggshells around the clock because he was a nightmare to be around because he was miserable.
great boss, but I mean, great meaning that he's the most honest person I've ever worked with in show business, which is just chock full of backstabber liars.
Sure.
He was very, very upfront and honest. Plus, I think he's hilarious. Just a nightmare person to be around. I went from that to Mr. Show, which was all my friends. Totally the opposite. It was unbelievable. I would have done that job for free. I swear to God.
Yeah, that's like going from one place to the complete opposite of the spectrum, it seems like. And like the Mr. Show, a lot of that cast still seems like good friends, or they at least, stay in touch a lot, right?
I think so. Like, I don't really see that. I see Brian Posehn probably 5 or 6 times a year, and I see Odenkirk like once a year. And I don't know Odenkirk that well, but he's one of the nicest people I've ever known, and one of the funniest. And I see Tom Kenny, a couple, 3 or 4 times a year, who's also one of the greatest guys, one of the nicest people ever.
Yeah, it seems like everybody's real nice. Like that Scott Aukerman guy's gonna come on my show too. Real nice guy.
Nice.
So.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know Scott, but I heard he's great.
And David Cross, they had some, hate to say it, but cross words about David Cross for a while. But I think that was just kind of because, I don't know, he's got that little sly way about him. But I think he's got to be a friendly guy in person, right?
No, he's not. But he's hilarious, and he's not mean or anything, But he's just some people aren't super gregarious or
sure.
But I dig Cross a lot, but he's not the friendly guy that's going to hang out with you and have a beer. And
all right, yeah, going back to Dennis Miller here, he seems like a kind of guy that'd be more like Corolla in that maybe a little bit of a heavy-handed boss, but still has your best interests intact. Correct?
They're very similar. I'd say Dennis is 10,000 times meaner than Adam. I mean, honestly, Dennis is. I don't want to. I have no animosity towards him. He gave me a job, and he was always fair to me and stuff. But he's definitely not a nice person.
I'd be afraid of him, saying some like obscure reference or something and going way over my head and having to force feigned laughter.
You get way over that immediately.
You do? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you worry about him saying other stuff.
Babe, yeah.
Like I never like my concern for him thinking I'm dumb ended like on day one. I'm like, okay, he knows I'm dumb.
He knows.
Now here comes the personal insults that aren't jokes, that are mean spirited. And he left me alone. He was horrific to his writers and stuff. And he let me do my little joke and do my little, my pictures, and left me alone, except for a couple times we had explosions where he didn't like what I did because he thought it was too far.
Sure.
And then he would try to have a producer come in, double check my work before it went out. And, that's created some tension, but whatever. It was his show. He's the boss. So
you did photography for the show and wrote for it, or what?
I would basically we'd have a topic, and so my job was to come up with funny pictures for the topic, and 2 of those pictures would be projected on the stage for the entire show, like a big one behind him in the interview, and then a big one behind him while he did the rant.
Sure.
So I would come up with an idea, then I'd try, and I didn't know anything about photography, by the way. So when I look at that stuff, it looks so juvenile and so stupid. But it was cool at the time. I guess, I don't know.
Are you more of a connoisseur of photography now? Like, do you do the whole dark room and film thing, or is it just a hobby kind of?
No, it's how I make a living.
Like, I meant, like, do you get like into the the old school aesthetics of? No. Or is it just shoot what's interesting kind of?
Shoot what's interesting. It's
that works. Yeah.
I don't even like talking to people about photography. Well, frankly, because I think most photographers are dicks, most professional photographers, and because it's this weird. It's this type of ego that bugs me. Like, I don't mind people. I'm around people with huge egos all the fucking time. I'm around people with the biggest egos on the planet.
Sure.
And it doesn't affect me if they're musicians or if they're comics. But when it's a photographer, I just kind of go like, I don't want to be around you.
Whole realm of douchebag, yeah. Huh.
I love photography. I love it. But you don't get to have an ego for something that's not that hard. I mean, for having a talented eye, which is the most important aspect, and then knowing all the technical aspects of the camera and stuff, and being ready, and I don't think it warrants having a gigantic ego. You didn't write something, you didn't write a song, you didn't create this, you didn't, it's not. It's. I mean, people develop egos. People have egos just based on their looks, which they had nothing to do with. So I guess it's just human nature. But I don't know. Plus I also see these guys take themselves way too fucking seriously. It's not that hard, believe me. I mean,
Yeah, I can see the whole artistic thing. They think that they're painting on a canvas.
yeah, it's not. It's not. You're not.
Perfect click, right? Yeah.
Yeah, but like I consider the most artistic part of my job is the fact that I know when to take the picture and where to be for the pictures that I think are good, and then my touch up is equally as important as actually having the picture to me. But I don't look at it and go, Allah, I'm an artist. I mean I think it's artistic. I think it's very artistic. And I like it. I love the idea of capturing images. I mean, I'm sort of obsessed with it. I mean, if I could just have my dream life, I would just drive around the country and just take pictures of things that are interesting. But unfortunately, you need to bring some bread in.
Yeah.
But that's all going to end pretty soon because I'm thinking about quitting everything and just becoming poor.
I had the same feeling myself. I kind of just feel like holding up in a shotgun shack somewhere in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Leaving the rat race.
I'm going to do it.
Is it tough being in LA and Hollywood with that kind of mentality because everybody's on the vanguard, everybody's got the newest, biggest thing coming next, right?
Yeah. Well, the good thing is I'm old, so, but well, I'm not like 20, so because it used to affect me negatively when I was young, like because you have this overwhelming sense of competition, and I don't really care about being in a competition ever, ever. But you also see your friends becoming successful at stuff, and you, at least in my case, I sort of misguided myself in thinking that I need to compete with them now and be, so and so got a TV show, I should get a TV show, and this and that, and it wasn't my field, and it wasn't my thing, and it was all this wasted energy trying to compete with somebody over nothing, which doesn't, in the end, is you're just wasting. Am I even making sense? Sorry, I started rambling. The yeah,
No, you totally are. Yeah.
Hard. It's totally hard unless you're comfortable with yourself and you understand the, which I don't completely, but I'm much better now that I'm older. I don't stress out about trying to keep up with everybody. I mean, not all, but a lot of my friends are multimillionaires and I'm not. And that used to weigh on me, but it didn't bug me, but I used to think about it all the time. Like, oh, he's a multimillionaire. He's successful. He's a multimillionaire. He's successful. And with
age, that starts to lose its importance.
Totally, it's just what it is. Like, when I see kids now, because I'm friends with a bunch of young actors and actresses, like friends, like because I photographed them, and some of them I became friends with, but you see the struggle and what's going on in their head about I have to do this and I have to stay in the public eye and I have to be this and I have to be that, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I don't really care.
I'm done with that. Yeah,
it's. Because it doesn't. All you can do is work as hard as you can, and if you're talented, sacrifice and work as hard as you can, and do the best job you can. And guess what? Some people are going to become rich and famous, and some people aren't, and that's just the way it is. And being prepared and working as hard as you can is the only way to set yourself up for it. But it's just not going to happen for some people, and it's the same way with music. I mean, there's people that move us and touch us more than people that are hugely popular. And they're never going to be that popular. And that's just the way it is, and the Beatles happen to come along and be the greatest at everything, in my opinion, and become hugely popular, hugely successful, insanely popular, and have the work to back it up. And I don't think that's ever going to happen. I think that those days are done, man.
Sure, you're always going to have like the Neil Youngs, and then you're going to have the Elliott Smiths that couldn't cope with it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And there's tons of people like that, and I see them all the time, and I'm introduced to them all the time. And I have a weird newfound, like there's people that I'm not going to mention their names because they're not my favorite, but they're doing what they love doing, and it's good for what, you know what I mean? They're like singer-songwriter guys. And the only reason I say I'm not going to mention their names is it's just not to my taste, and it's not my not my prerogative to like judge what they're doing. Like, oh, that sucks, but it doesn't suck. It doesn't suck for their audience. But they tour and make a living playing music, and they're not famous. But they have a crowd that follows them, and they have enough people, and they're doing what they're doing. And I have total respect for those guys. And I'm like, this is the greatest. This guy just drives around the country and sings his songs and puts out his albums, and he doesn't give a shit. And because I used to have this philosophy where if it didn't have a bigger picture, that wasn't worthwhile. Like if it wasn't going to be some giant payoff later on.
Sure.
I'm so bad
No,
at
no,
talking.
I like it, man. It was
I just want to go off on a tangent and talk about something else. And I did that yesterday with a guy when I was delivering a job that I shot for someone, and I was miserable because it wasn't enjoyable, and I didn't look forward to it, and it felt like it was going to kill me. Like I had a couple of total breakdowns. Like I don't want to be here. I don't want to do this job. I don't want to do this job. I wish I would have said no. And I let it overwhelm me. I let it get inside my head. And when I was delivering it yesterday, but for the hour we were supposed to talk about it, all I talked about was myself, and I realized I have no business talking to people.
I think it's totally fine. I mean, I can totally see. Did you ever have a therapist coming up? Because I mean,
No, I'm doing it soon though. I talked to Dr. Drew about it.
like not that you're a basket case or anything, but I think
No,
these things that you're talking about are
I'm
totally
way
would be
worse than
perfect.
anyone knows.
Yeah.
No, it's way worse. And we make jokes about some of the stuff, but it's really the problem is life is short, and you can enjoy it, and you need to focus on making the most of your time instead of just wasting it. And my biggest regret is looking back on years and years where I just wasted all that time. I did nothing. I contributed nothing. I didn't try. I didn't, and I fall into these ruts where. What, no, my point is, I'm definitely getting a therapist. I talked to Drew about it on Saturday for a pretty long time, and
I mean,
and
I think it could help pretty much anybody. I've even seen people before. I've had little issues and darkness in my life here and there, and it just helps to
like
talk
what?
about it. I mean, I was like the loner, the isolationist for a while, then had the whole competing thing of got to be the
Mm,
best in this, got to be the best in that, and then that only led to emptiness and stuff like that.
yeah,
So now, I mean, I'm only 28, but I'm starting to get that feeling of like, wow, I cared so much about such stupid stuff. Now let's try to just live in the now here while I
Andy,
still got time.
you're totally. Are you married or anything?
No, definitely not.
And
And I'm waiting until I'm
are you?
35 and she's 21. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
But
Good
yeah,
luck.
I think it always helps talking about it. And a weird thing with my show, I'm 49. This is my 49th episode, and
Congrats.
I've really found that to be therapeutic too. Even talking to Lynette Carolla, talking to Bald Bryan, Katie Levine, all these people,
Nice.
they've all given me a little piece of them and helped me find a new piece of myself. I know it sounds new age, and you
No,
know.
it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, people talk about podcasts being, oh, it's three guys just sitting on a couch talking about what's on TV. Actually, if you do it right, I mean, talk to Mark Maron, talk to Joe Rogan. They get deep on some of these issues.
Yeah, I'm friends with both those guys. Well, acquaintance friends. But no, yeah, what I said earlier, like when I was saying it's just a waste of time, that's my mental problem. Because I do believe like we do our show, and I've never left there going, that was great time spent. I leave there going, what a waste of fucking time. Who wants to listen to that bullshit about us? You know what I mean? It's
Sure,
like, well,
yeah.
and plus you end up telling horrible stories that you know
Incriminate you, yeah.
yeah, and they're true, but it's like I meet people, if somebody says hi to me in public or I meet somebody, I always get like, you're nothing like I pictured from Twitter or from your show. I always thought you were this guy that's walking around ready to fight everybody. I'm like, I don't want to fight anybody. Like, I don't want to, I go, Twitter is my place to vent.
Sure,
And
yeah.
I'm not some guy walking around like ready to fucking punch somebody. That's not, but what I said earlier, like when I said, I think it's a waste of time, is that I, in my head, I keep thinking we should strive for something unique and totally original and stuff. And realistically, that's impossible. But, you want it to be something that stands out from everybody. And I started to think ours doesn't stand out from anybody, because it's the same thing with everyone's podcast. And every time someone sends me a link to listen to their podcast, I listen to it and I go, that's the same thing we do. We sit around, talk, we have a few laughs. Someone exposes something, it gets personal, it's nice. But you want it to be, I want it to be so much more than that, so much better than that. I don't even know if we have the ability to do that, or if you have the ability, or if someone out there has the ability. but I want it to be that. It's like whenever you write, I can't say, whenever I do something, I want it to be better, and it just is what it is. And I think I just want somehow I want to create something great, and it hasn't happened yet.
Well, the thing is, I think it also takes time and practice, and you guys have only been doing the show for a certain amount of time. I mean, I think if you keep doing it, it's just going to be getting slowly and slowly better, and
And
eventually
the
it's going to
show's not
pay off.
getting
No, yeah, maybe not, but you're gonna find something that's just gonna, finally make you happy. Are you married or no?
no, no.
Yeah, I think the thing is, people put such a weight on that, and they say, "Oh, he's doing great. He's doing so great, but he's not married. What? So he doesn't have the whole puzzle complete." And
I,
I hate that too.
I mean, hey, I'm 45. How do you think I feel about it? I mean, because you start to, but you know what that is? It's going back to worrying about what other people think about you, and that can be totally debilitating. That can just be devastating to your life because your head is fucking amazing, man. My head will fuck with me and ruin things that are laid out in an organized manner for me to succeed at something, and my head will fuck it up. And it's not real. It's some stupid thought, it's some insecurity, it's something somebody says, it's some stupid focus group, it's any of that bullshit. And me starting to feel like I'm a creep because I'm not married, so it definitely got under my skin for a while. And then I just kind of go, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like I'm looking in a mirror right now because yeah, your head will be the one thing that will get in your way when nobody is saying that you can't succeed. The guy inside my brain will tell me I can't,
Yeah.
and I'll listen to it with wide open ears.
Yeah. I mean, I've had the same girlfriend for 6 years, but and I'm not getting married.
And she's okay with that. She knows
No,
that.
no,
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 no.
she's not okay with any of. She's not okay with any of this. You know what? I don't know. We don't really talk that much. I don't know what she's okay with or not. I
Huh.
haven't seen her since the Roger Waters show, and that was, you know, a week and 3 days, 4 days ago. I don't know. Our relationship sucks, man. Who knows? You know?
It's another thing that needs work, and with time, who knows? Maybe that'll rear its head and it'll say, "Hey, let's make this thing official," right?
No,
No, no, still
no.
not
Let's make it officially over, maybe. But
officially done. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, because this isn't working. I'm not living the life. I keep saying we, but I can't speak for you because maybe you're much more on top of it. But I'm not living the life I want to live. Like, this isn't how I want to be. I don't want to be this guy, and I don't want to be in this kind of relationship where we don't talk and we don't share things. And every time we get in the car together, there's a low level of tension. I don't
Sure.
want. I mean, I want to enjoy my life. I want to
You
have
feel
sex
almost at
again.
competition with her, or
No, it's just we damaged it a long time ago, and it wasn't damaged like we cheated on each other or anything. That didn't happen, but it started off on a very I can't. It just started off not authentic, and then animosity happened, and then this happened, and that happened, and then those things just sit there and fester, and then years later you're still in this, and and it's a continuous pattern, and then her acting like it's not bothering her gets under my skin, and then I treat her like shit, and then I think, how can I respect somebody that puts up with me treating them like shit? And then her response to that is, I do it because I love you, and I think we have something here, but I don't buy into any of it. But you know what? I'm fucked up, so maybe it's all in my head too. Who knows? I don't know, but this isn't. I don't want to. This isn't the life. I'm seriously going to quit everything and start over. I'm not kidding.
how about like taking it back for you? Were you a good student? Because
No,
school was
no,
something that I always had trouble with. I
yeah,
was never a smooth sailing student, and I tried the whole junior college thing after high school, and ultimately failed at that. And
me
a
too.
couple years ago, I told my mom, "Hey, ma, I'm not going back to college ever, and I got to make it with whatever chutzpah I've got now, whatever moxie I'm working with right now is what I've got to work with." And my sister just graduated college. She's 6 years younger. I told her, I'm proud of you, but at the same time, it's not something for me. I
Yeah,
gotta make it myself.
and you know what? You need to focus on that while you're young and stuff, and just accept it. And a friend of mine sat down and gave me some advice, like unsolicited, and I thought it was ridiculous. And the more I'm thinking about it now, I'm starting to realize. And he's like, just quit. I was like, huh? He goes, you just need to know when to quit. He goes, one of the best decisions I ever made in my life were when I just knew when to quit. You know, if
Huh.
something's not making you happy and your heart's not in it, just fucking bail. And I was like, you know, that's the opposite of what I've always heard. Like, don't be a quitter.
Yeah, yeah,
But
that's
I think,
true. Yeah.
you
Huh.
know, I think he's kind of right. And, you know, he's doing what he wants to do with his life. Now, he's not rich, but, I don't know, man. It's the, I, I don't want to be on one of these guys that's on this eternal search for happiness. I just want to be honest and you know what I mean. I think you get it. We seem to have parallels a lot, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
But
The honesty is important. That will bring you the audience that you've already got. You know, they're looking for the honesty. They're not looking for, "Hi, I'm so happy. I've got
well,
this picture perfect life." I would tune
yeah.
out at that point. You know.
But the honesty in every aspect, like when I earlier said that this job I just finished felt like it was going to kill me, I meant that literally. Like, I don't mean like, oh, this is a drag. I mean, like I was having panic attacks, and it wasn't a panic attack over I can't do this job. Well, a little part of it was I bit off more than I can chew, and I shouldn't have taken this because I'm busy with other stuff. But the big panic was I don't want to be doing this, and I'm at a point in my life where I don't want to waste my time on a job I'm not interested in. And then I also felt like I was failing at it, and I was like, this is going to be the first time in my life I failed. I didn't turn in something that was the best I could have done, and it was absolutely the case. And I put it off, put it off, put it off, put it off, and the night before the guy was flying out here to pick it up, I started panicking and working on it. And you know, when I delivered it yesterday, it was sadness because I was like, I didn't do the best job I could have done.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I no, but I, you know, the point is honesty up front. Like, if I would have just said I'm not the guy, and because it wasn't, all this the stress I put on my body wasn't worth a couple $1,000. And I honestly thought I was having a heart attack yesterday, and I had to like sit there and go, wait a minute, it's a stupid fucking video. This is not worth the stress that's on the, letting myself get wound up over this. But I do that with everything. You do it with relationships. And if you're totally honest up front, the relationship doesn't work out up front, and then you don't have these years and years and years, put into something that's going to eventually fail,
Sure. Yeah.
and it's going to be damaging to both people because, you could have moved on and done and found other things and other people, and it's I
Have you
don't
have you
know.
had these anxiety attacks often throughout your life, or was
Yeah.
this something that happened with age? So it's
Yeah,
been
no, it was worse when I was young, and I would go for walks, and you know how I know I totally relate to. I can't relate to what kids are. I can't relate to their heads because I talk to, like I talk to people again. I talk to my friends that are actors and actresses that are young, and they're successful and somewhat success. You know what I mean? They're kind of celebrities and stuff, but I can't relate to them and their peers, but I can totally relate to their anxieties and their like I can't relate to them trying to tell me about music
Mhm.
because I'm
Sure.
like, yeah, I heard this song 25 years ago and I know the feeling you went through and I have 25 years of it in the back of my head now, so I don't need to hear your recent discovery of Joe Cocker. I mean, but that I'm just like, Jesus Christ, I could see, you know, but I totally relate to the feeling of being suffocated and being trapped, at least when I was when I was a kid, I assume tons of people, I assume everybody feels this, but you feel trapped. You don't have any money, you don't have any way to get out, and you just feel like you're stuck there. And I don't even necessarily mean with your parents, but that's how I felt, like, oh my God, I'm stuck. What am I going to do? I have no money. My 16th birthday is coming up. I have no car, and I'm just trapped here. And I didn't even think about having a job. I was just like, what's happening in my life? And I would just go for walks as escape from whatever. But I get that feeling. It's weird how it just works itself out. You eventually get your first job and you get a little taste of freedom, and it's this overwhelming joy. And I wish I could get that back, like that. Oh yeah, it is life. I get to do whatever I want, and you know.
Yeah, that feeling of accomplishment from your first job is huge. What was
Oh,
your first job, or the first job that you were actually excited to be a part of?
I worked for my dad when I was a kid. I guess I did have a job at the time. I worked for my dad. That was miserable,
Mhm.
and it was just because. you shouldn't work for your dad, unless it's a professional job and you're totally separate from it. You know what I mean? My dad owned a pawn shop and I worked there, and my work was bullshit work, and he paid me, and I knew I was getting paid for something I didn't really do, and he knew it, and it was just weirdness. And yeah, I can't, and I was a flake. I'd be like, I'm gonna go to the beach. It was just, I was total flake. And then I got a job at a grocery store, which was total misery, working on the night crew from 11 at night till 7 in the morning.
Ooh, yeah.
And for $4 an hour. And thank God I quit that job, because all I kept thinking was, once I get promoted to a stock boy, I'll be making 77.50 an hour, doing hard manual labor all night so I could buy a Toyota truck. That's what I wanted. And I was like, I'm going to get this truck, and this is going to be cool, and I'll have this job, and blah, blah, blah. But thank God I finally just went, I've had it with this. I can't spend my life here, and quit. That job was miserable. I lost 30 pounds in 6 months. And it was just the grossest, most ridiculous thing. But you know what? I was young, whatever. And my girlfriend's mom was like a manager there, so she got me the job.
You got to have the bad jobs, otherwise you wouldn't appreciate the now as much, I think. Yeah.
And you got to go back too, because I had cool TV jobs and plenty of money, and everything was cool, and then everything came to an end, and I sat around moping. Partially came to an end because I had like an anxiety thing, and I just couldn't. I just moved from LA back to San Diego and never, sat around for 2 years. Like literally sat in a room for 2 years.
Wow.
And didn't work and didn't try and didn't pay my bills. Just ignored everybody. And then finally kind of like went, I got to get a fucking job. And I called a friend of mine that opened a giant concert venue, and he hired me. Now keep in mind, I went from a TV show making TV money to working at a concert venue for $8 an hour. And
Sure.
That was humiliating and weird, but great, because it got me back out and doing something. And, that was a horrible job. It was fun hanging out, and, the fact that I got to see all these shows, and I had at an ATC, and I would just drive around the venue and run out in the desert, and, it was cool. But pounding stakes into the ground in the parking lot.
It got you off the couch. It got you back into the game a little bit, right?
But it's a reality check here. I'm out there pounding hard labor with a mini sledgehammer in the sun, and I was just went, what am I doing with my life? I'm fucking doing manual labor for $8 an hour now, after coming off of 2 or 3 TV shows, and I was just like, this is so sad. And I did that for a year, and then, eventually
things started returning.
Yeah, but
Nice.
you know what? It's just
What venue are we talking about? And how about any good vans? Or?
the Coors Amphitheater in San Diego. Yeah, it was great. I mean, we did like a bunch of festivals, and we did Elton John, the Spice Girls, Metallica, a bunch of shows like Jimmy Buffett.
Late 90s, are we talking? Or
No, this was oh yeah, you know what? Yeah, sorry.
well, I'm just guessing from Spice Girls. They didn't really have a 30-year run.
Yeah, no. I'm like, no, this was more recent. I think it was 1999, something like that. But no, you know what? It's one of those things where you're working all day doing manual labor, and it's a pain in the ass, and you're filled with dread, and you hate it. And then the nighttime would roll around. It's cool, and it's beautiful outdoor venue, and all of a sudden, Elton John's on stage, and you're just cruising around with a Coke, watching it from backstage, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, this was a nice day's work. I mean, the payoff wasn't enough, but it was a good feeling.
Sometimes that like long day of labor, like I work at a barbecue joint, and we put together rib fests and stuff like that. And though it's backbreaking labor, it's not good pay. You get sunburn, all that stuff. At the end of the day, though, you do have a little bit of feeling like, okay, I just did something at least,
Honest to God, I honestly think. I know this isn't a psychotherapy show, by the way, but I honestly think the key to happiness is work. I honestly think that. And I don't think I think happiness is bullshit. I think it's this made up thing, but I think being content is happy. And I think the key to it is work, because every time the most happy and content I've ever been in my life was after doing a lot of work, whether it be mental or physical. And you finish it, it's just feeling of this was a day in my life not wasted. And it's a wonderful, warm feeling. And now the days I sit around and accomplish nothing because I'm fretting over something, then it just compounds and it gets worse and worse. And then I feel like,
You're digging a hole, yeah.
Yeah, and you are digging a hole. Sometimes it's impossible to get out of. And some people get out of it when they finally have a stroke or a heart attack, and that's what I'm afraid is going to be my path. because I let myself get stressed out over things that are not important at all. And I mean, but then therapy is fucking weird. Like I've done this thing for years and years and years, and I did it last night. And I was chatting with somebody online, like not online, but texting with a friend of mine who's an actress. I don't know why I just said that. That was so fucking weird. I'm so sorry. How about I was just texting with someone? But it was an interesting conversation, and I continued. My point is, when I'm stressed out and I need to unwind, I'll just drive far away. And since I'm in LA and I don't want to deal with traffic and stuff, I don't drive that far. So I just drive over the hill basically and go to the valley, and I find a big parking lot, and I park and I turn the radio on and I get some food and I stand outside my car. I don't sit in it, but I stand outside the car with the radio on, and I'll either post things on Twitter or on Facebook, and sometimes I'll stand there for half an hour, 45 minutes. Last night I happened to stand in this parking lot for 2 hours, and then she goes, "Where are you?" And I went, "I'm in the parking lot at Jerry's Deli." And she was like, "No, really?" And I go, "I swear to God, I've been here since 10. It was at midnight, and I was getting ready to truck back over the hill, and I realized I just stood in a parking lot. And then I was thinking about it driving over the hill, and I texted her, and I go, "You know what? I think I do this like 600 hours a year," because I would come home and I would drive to a parking lot and leave on the radio, and that's how I discovered shows and stuff. Was just, I'm like, "Oh, what's this? Jim Rome." And then I, every morning I'd go to Starbucks and get a coffee and go park in a parking lot and listen to the first 20, 30 minutes of Jim Rome while I ate a muffin and drank my coffee. And I still do it. And I realized last night I just spent 2 hours. And I don't think that was a waste of time, by the way.
That seems like it's your therapy. I mean, you would be sitting on a couch talking to some gray-haired guy, or you could be in a parking lot listening to whatever new show you're into,
Yeah. What's your plan? To stay in Chicago or?
Well, yeah, I actually do like being out in the Midwest. I like being like a big fish in a small pond out here.
Yeah.
I do want to
Really
visit out there, but
not really a small pond.
Well, no, it's not really a small pond, but to Hollywood, they go, "Oh, Chicago." I mean, like Dice Clay once said, it's New York and it's LA and the rest is farms, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, the whole thing is like I still have that voice in my head saying, "Oh, you shouldn't go out west. What do they need another podcaster for? What do they need a music guy for? They already got Matt Pinfield. They already got this guy. What do they need you for?" And then but then I get good kudos on the show. I get good feedback, and sometimes that's all that I need to just shut that little voice up for a minute.
You got it. You know what? Honest to God, if I find the way to shut it up, I will forward it to you, because I'm dead serious. That is one of my biggest concerns. Is I want. Well, yeah. You need to just try your best and do what you want to do, and not do it for the wrong reasons. Meaning, thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna get some pussy," or you know what I mean. Sorry, that was a bad example, but a lot of people get into things for, "Oh, I just need attention, so I want to be famous." But you can, and it might work, but you're not going to find what you're looking for at the end of that. It's just going to be fucking misery. I mean, you need to focus. We all need to focus on what we love, and we also need to have our feet on the ground and be a little, a reality check, and understand that hypothetically, if I thought I'm going to be an opera singer, and that's what I love, realistically, that's not going to be the case.
Start out with a small opera, like a little garage opera, and then work your way up. Yeah.
I'm going to be the world's worst opera singer.
You were talking about the alcohol and how you quit it. Would that obviously be a coping mechanism back when you were into it?
Yeah, it was it was everything. It was I love drinking, by the way, let me point out. I love that one beer buzz more than any feeling ever, but I never have it because I've never had one beer.
No. Yeah.
But no, I love it, but it was I quit because I was severely, severely depressed, and the doctor wouldn't treat me until I quit drinking, because he said all of my symptoms can be a result of my heavy drinking for the past 25 years. And I just decided to give it a shot for a week. And it was fucking horrible. It was, no, I mean, I was like having a nervous breakdown driving home. I was like, I don't know how to do this, because I drank every day, all day, every night for forever.
Sure.
And, but I will say, my life is much, I can't speak for other people, but for me personally, My life is much better now that I don't drink. Much better. And not just for the reasons which immediately popped into mind, which is driving for the first time ever is fun, ever. Like I've never gotten in the car without some booze in my system. And when I say never, I don't mean like, oh, I mean on the weekends. I mean never.
Never.
No. Well, in the morning when I go get breakfast, I go to a restaurant, I go to Starbucks, and then I'd do
That's
some
it.
work for a few hours, and
Yeah.
then I'd go to lunch. I'd get some lunch. I'd stop at one of the improvs because there were two near me in Orange County, and then or if I was in LA, I'd stop at the improv there. I'd sit around and talk to people while I either had a beer or two or a couple Crown and Cokes, and then as I'm walking out, I'd throw down a shot or two of Jägermeister, and then I'd have to go home and take a nap because I was drunk. And I would lay down for 2 hours, and then I'd get up and I'd do some exercise, and then I'd have a martini to treat myself for the exercise, and then I'd do work, and then I'd go to work to shoot people, and I would drink the entire night. And it was every day, every night, and it was just a lot of sleeping, and plus, it was like the panic attacks and the it could I never. It was a lot of napping. I couldn't sleep because I was fucking jacked up on booze, but I, it's been the best thing that I've done in 10 years. And like I said, I love the fact that every night when I drive home, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning, I have no concern except for falling asleep. I don't have any concerns about getting pulled over. I mean, I couldn't give a shit. Whereas every other drive in my life has been tense. Like, even if I only had one beer, I'm like, he's gonna smell it on my breath.
Sure,
You
yeah.
know?
Well, like those commercials with the guy where they open the door and it's tequila coming out the door, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I love drinking. I mean, no, believe me, I was stressed out going to Roger Waters, like big time, like oh fuck, how am I gonna do this? Because I take that back. I fucked up. There was because I ate some pot. I ate a pot sucker and got way too stoned. But leading the drive down there, I just kept thinking, I can't take this. I have to get some drinks because there was a lot of tension in the car for other reasons than just my girlfriend and I. There was, we hit this accident and we sat on the freeway for about an hour and 55 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
And I had to pee and she had to pee and we were both having anxiety and she finally just went, I don't give a shit now. Let's just go home. Like just take me home. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, we're going. And I didn't know it was gonna be so great. I'm glad we fought it out and went.
Kept going. Yeah, nice.
But no, I forgot what we were talking
I
about.
got one. How about so you got off the alcohol and the doctor was able to treat you for depression. Did you get
No, no,
on?
no. That's I don't follow through. By the way,
Sure.
I'm the worst. So I stopped drinking and then I stopped going to the doctor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
You felt like, oh, I cured myself. Let's
no,
screw
no,
that. Or-
no. I'm just fucking dumb. I didn't think it through. I just went, yeah, I'm not going back there.
Also, they charge an arm and a leg too. I mean, you got to be
Uh,
making that Corolla money to go to the doctor
yeah, my
nowadays. Yeah.
prescription was $650,
Ah, jeez.
and I stopped
Yeah.
taking that too. But no, I'm starting to realize that I need to follow through on that because I don't want to live this life of depression and misery, and I just don't want it to, and plus I don't like the craziness, you know. I will say the stopping the booze stopped some of the insane things that I was doing, which is good. I
Sure.
mean, I still stood in a parking lot last night for 2 hours and texted someone while the radio was on in the background. But I'm not doing the stuff I was doing before, which became commonplace. Like,
Negativity doesn't come out of just standing in a parking lot. That's nothing
yeah,
too negative. Yeah.
yeah. And I wasn't saying things to people that were insane and doing insane actions, and I wasn't climbing on the roof of hotels and if I made a list of the stupid stuff I've done, it wouldn't be like ha ha ha, look how crazy we were. It's, oh my God, we're fucking dumb,
Yeah,
because there's
sure.
no point to that. I mean, when I was young, and and very infrequently, by the way, I should point that out, but I thought it was funny to get super drunk at a concert and just whip my dick out. And I'm like, hey, this is a great idea, whipping my dick out. And then a few years later, I'd look back on that and go, that was really not entertaining.
Yeah, peeing on
But
a guy's shoes is funny
yeah,
when you're 18, but it loses its
yeah, and
luster.
I know when you're in your 40s and you're straddling at the roof at the fucking Chateau Marmont Hotel and you've had an entire bottle of Jack Daniels and you and your friends are up there just giggling, knowing that any minute one of you is going to fall off 8 stories and be impaled, and then,
Not as funny. Yeah.
it's
No.
not funny at all. It's not even. it's embarrassing and it's not funny. It's this weird cry for help and attention. And, you know, I get it. I get it when people are in high school and they do insane stuff. It's you want, hey, look at me. You want girls to notice you and you want people to go like, hey, you're the crazy guy.
Sure, yeah.
It's totally natural. Everyone wants love and everyone wants attention and everyone wants to be recognized for their talents and stuff. And it's hard when you're not. And it's really hard when you think that other people are and you're not.
Yeah, going back to the thing that there's no press such as bad press when you're a high school kid. It seems like anything to do to stick out, I'll do it. But that loses its luster once you get in your 30s, 40s, 50s.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'll tell you the one thing that pushed me over the edge, where the quitting drinking thing. You know, it. I know I quit. You know what I mean? And that's what made me have kind of like a breakdown. It wasn't oh yeah, I'll quit for a week. I'll go back, get on the meds. Because he told me just to quit for a week and come back and see me. And, I knew I quit because somebody, a DJ, I'm sorry, I try not to be a name dropper. Try not to, hey, this guy told me this. But a guy told me, he goes, let me just ask you one question. He goes, are you better off or worse off when you drink? And he goes, don't even answer. He goes, just think about it. And I was driving home and I went, I'm always worse off. I've never once been better off. Ever. Never once. Even if I had a great night and everything that came out of my mouth was entertaining and I sat around with a bunch of friends, there was always a regret. Always. Like, oh, why did I tap Sarah Silverman on the head for no reason? And, it just came out of nowhere. Why did I say this? Why did I think it was funny to say cunt?
Why'd I make an ass of myself? Yeah.
No, but even little teeny things, it was always more regret. And I started thinking about drinking, and I do love drinking, and I do love watching a concert when I'm drunk, and I do like that feeling. But realistically, it's only to you. Like when you go out with your friends and you're drinking, you think I'm fucking hilarious and I'm the life of the party, but it's only to you. Because
Very
now
true.
that I'm not drinking, I see all my friends, and I still go out with everybody. I still go to parties. I still go to everyone's events, and it's a blast. And people drinking doesn't faze me one bit. It's totally cool, But I do immediately recognize they think they're hilarious right now, and they're not. And when you're all drunk, it's all hilarious. But when you're not, you're kind of like, oh yeah, they're not. I get what's in someone's head because I was that guy for my entire life. Still am that guy, but at least now
it's like a new perspective, that new eyes a little bit, kind of. Yeah.
I get, yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm only 6 months into this, but I definitely think I'm better off. But I'll tell you, it's what's weird is the depression and the anxiety and everything went away for like 2 months and then came back. And I was like, that's what I was talking to Drew about the other night. I was like, I don't know how to handle this. And he's like, you need to go back to the doctor. And the ironic thing is the doctor is his partner. And apparently they don't talk because he keeps asking me questions about him. And I want to go like, I quit going to that guy like 5 months, right? But I don't have the balls to say that to him because I don't want him to know what a fucking quitter I am.
Sure.
Time. It'll be the third time I show up at that guy's office and go, all right, I'm ready to do something now. And then I don't call him back.
All right, I'm back. Let's do this. Yeah.
No. So what do you want to do? You want to do a show on music? And I mean, like the bigger picture, like, do you want to just move into that exclusively, or are you a musician, or are you
I was a musician and I still am, and it's been almost 20 years, since I was a little kid, but I just got sick of the whole playing little clubs in the middle of the Windy City on try to get people to come out when there's a blizzard warning. Yeah. Stuff like that is tough. Finding people on Craigslist, then getting into a fight with one other person,
It's so yeah, you know what? Yeah, we definitely have a lot of relatable stuff.
So then, I even did a podcast with other people, and then the whole band thing once again struck that. So I said, how about just the Andy Dare Show? I'm the only one held accountable. I'm the only one that gets the kudos and gets the insults too. So
yeah, I know. I'm totally with you.
But yeah, and eventually, right now I've got sponsors, and I've laughed about on the show. I'm getting paid in barbecue ribs, and I'm getting paid in CDs, used CDs, which I've got like a CD wall. I've told Paul Gilmartin this on the last episode. I'm slowly encapsulating myself in a wall of CDs, fitting. Yeah, we're talking about Roger Waters and everything. But yeah, so I'm just like a music freak like that, and I just want to be able to eventually have the sponsors start paying, maybe move out west, maybe turn it into being like a TV anchor, a little bit of a host here
Yeah.
and there, or something like that. I think that would be great. And talk to Matt Pinfield, one of my idols, and he said he gave me the go ahead. He said, you got a lot of knowledge, just keep going. You're only a year and a half into this. What could happen in 5 years?
Yeah, honestly, you never know. You don't know, man. I'm telling you, you just have to keep moving forward and keep creating and keep move because it's out of your hands, and
Sure.
it's
Yeah.
hard for me to accept that, but it really is. And I look at the stuff that I've enjoyed in life, and they were things that fell into my lap based on other stuff that I had done. It was never I set out to do this and I did this and I reaped the benefits and got satisfaction. It was always, oh, I happened to be here at this time and I happened to take this guy's picture and that other guy noticed and wanted me to do this and I happened to this guy offered this to me because he heard me over here. And you don't know where it's going to take you, but it's it's God, I wish I would have known this when I was like 20.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and like it's weird because my best friend he's got OCD, so he doesn't have a smartphone, he doesn't have a computer, and he hates the social networks. He really hates them. So like I'll go over to his house and I'll talk to the people at his parties and stuff like that, and he goes, "Oh, you're only internet famous. That doesn't mean anything like that." And then I'll go, all right, but you're delivering pizzas. It's like eventually this might lead to something, and that's
Now,
why I'm putting in work. I go home and work at night on my little project.
hey, you can't never take that shit from anybody
Yeah.
because that's it, that's you know what that is I've heard that stuff too, by the way, but that's just not re I try to
It's shouting from the cheap seats.
yeah
It's
no,
tough.
yeah, you know what, fuck everybody who doesn't do it, and anybody who first of all, fuck critics, fuck them. And I don't mean
Sure.
people, which is hypocritical of me to say because I do like people telling me about movies and stuff and what they liked and what they didn't like. But fuck these YouTube commenters and fuck people that sit there and don't do anything. And I've heard this a million times, and I've had big issues. I had a very famous please forgive. I'm not going to be a name dropper, but I was having a total anxiety attack over these spoken word shows I agreed to do, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not a comic, and I'm gonna go stand up there and talk for an hour and a half. Turned out I can talk for an hour and a half, no problem. And so basically, I just showed videos, and I brought some guitars, and I thought if I feel like singing some songs, I'll do some songs. I'll do this, I'll do that. Ended up, for at least the shows in LA, I just talked for like 90 minutes. But I was so discouraged by it and stuff. And this guy just goes, hey, he goes, I'll tell you what a really famous person told him. And he told me 30 feet, man. And he goes, what's that mean? And he goes, 30 feet. You made that walk 30 feet to the stage that none of those other people did.
So,
And it was this, and I think that applies to the web, everything, and
I love
who's,
that. Yeah.
well, I mean, so from his perspective and a lot of people's perspective, if it's the validation of people that create TV shows is important, which is absolutely insane because they don't know shit. Executives don't know fucking shit. They're fucking talentless people that are executives because they didn't have the balls to try and be the talent. And that's most of them. That's not all of them, because I have executive friends that are great people and they're super admirable, but most of them are people that didn't have the fucking balls, so they're behind the scenes people. And being that I don't mean to be disparaging to behind the scenes people at all. I mean, but if you're a critic, you don't get to fucking talk. You just shouldn't.
If you're a critic, give me a reason to be interested in your criticism.
Yeah, I feel like a hypocrite now because I'm finding huge holes in my argument, like sports broadcasters that never played anything. But I do think I don't know if it's the same thing. I just think if you try And trying is the hardest thing you can do. And because you're setting yourself up for failure. I just had an hour-long conversation with a friend last night about this, and I go, I'm so terrified of uploading this and that and this and that because I'm afraid of the embarrassment of failure. And because I have a lot of personal stuff that I want to upload. I mean, they're still funny. You know, I don't mean I think they're funny. They're not made. They're not like, oh, I'm gonna. It's not like Mike Carano's therapy hour. It's, you know, they're still personal. They're more personal things. They're songs and they're videos that are personal, and they're personal meaning like this is what I want to do and what I want it to be, and it's putting yourself out there, and it's hard because you don't want people to reject you for what's really inside of you, you know.
Yeah, it is showing your ass to the
Yeah,
entire world, and
but
a lot of people don't have the guts and the chutzpah to actually pull that off, you know?
I don't have the guts most of the time. You know, I mean, I've got a backlog of things that we were going over that I'm like, I can't do that. I can't do that. I can't, you know, I'm like, that's just personal. That song's personal. That video is personal, but they're personal because I exposed. Well, you know what I mean. But I can't.
You
I
exposed a
just,
raw nerve that you're in, you know, not excited to have other
yeah,
people see.
you know, people. I've heard this about shows I've promoted to people, and they're like, "What should I listen to?" And I go, "You know, Never Not Funny is entertaining. It's, you know, it's great." And Pardo's the fastest guy on radio, and, you know, another former Chicagoan, but he, you know, and the people like that, and they're like, that's a fucking internet show, bull. You know, I don't want to listen to that bullshit. And I'm like, you know, wouldn't you, if you look at it, wouldn't you rather listen to something that somebody, the artist, has total control over than listen to something that some jackass from Disney got his hands in? You know what I mean? Or
Yeah, it's very true because like the same guy was telling me, the same kid that was talking a little bit of shit to me, he'll be like, it's not really on the radio, so how can, you know, it's not
yeah,
actual radio. And I said, well,
yeah, it's
actual
not playing
radio's
the
dying.
radio.
People are jumping off that like it's a sinking ship, you know?
Well, first of all, that argument holds no water. It's not really on the radio, this free thing that's thrown out there for everybody to listen to. It's in a place where people have to seek it out. So right there, it's better.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what's more valuable to you? Something you have to look for and find, or something that's just in your face everywhere you go? So you get in a rental car and there it is blaring away. But I do get the validation, and we all would like to have real radio shows. I'm being hypocritical, but the reason for that is you'd like that wider, broader audience, you know. And I get it. I mean, I would like to know we have more listeners to our podcast than, you know, than we do. But and I'd like to know that every time I make a video, it's going to get more than 4,000 views. But, you know, that's just not the case.
We're at where we're at, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, and I mean like 4,000 views on YouTube because I still have like 4 or 6,000 subscribers on iTunes that for some reason are hanging in there, even though I haven't done shit for 6 months at a time.
You're talking about the 5 Minutes with Mike video series?
Yeah, but I just, you know, I just stopped doing them because
Did you stop when you stopped drinking?
before that, because I lost interest,
Oh.
because it was, well, and it was for the same stupid, it was for that stupid reason. I'm a colossal hypocrite, by the way. But it was for that same reason, because I just went, okay, I'm throwing these videos up here. They're just what they are. They're not works of art or anything, but they're just cutesy little videos. But I like them, you know, and it shows me, and there's some hardcore people that are fans of it. But then I just kind of like, okay, you know, for 3,000, 4,000, 6,000 views, I'm like, this isn't worth it because this isn't leading to anything, which is totally wrong on my part, and almost pretentious for me to think like, oh, if it was 50,000, it would be worth it. But it's a trap you fall into, you know, because I don't do the videos to try to get an audience. I do them to have to get something out of my system, you know. And I forgot about that, and I just started thinking like, no one's watching it. And then if you think about it, you're like, wait a minute, if there were 3,000 or 4,000 or 9,000 people in a room wanting to see me, of course I would show up for that.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It's like a funny video diary too. Like in a year or two, you look back. That's what I was doing. You know, going to a bat cave or whatever. You know, it's kind of funny that way. It's interesting. It's interesting to look back. You know.
Episode.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've had I think 3 people stop me in the last 6 months and go, I saw that video of you lost in the mountains, and I'm like, nothing happens in that video. Yeah, there was I just put that up there because I had nothing else, and I was like, ah. But it's, yeah, the internet thing. I love it, frankly. I got burned out and I stopped listening to podcasts probably like 3 or 4 months ago, but I'm slowly bringing it, back into my car and listening because it just got to be, it kind of goes full circle back to earlier when we were talking about how I started noticing, our podcast is the same as everyone else's podcast. And I want it to be exceptional. I want it to be something different. And I don't know if we have the ability to do that because it's a conversation. I don't know what I expected it to be. You know what I mean?
Sure.
I mean, even when you watch things that are supposed to be the pinnacle of their, even you flip on Letterman and you're like, okay, this is what it's really supposed to be like. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, it's the same thing. It's a conversation.
Sure.
So maybe I'm expecting something more than human limitations can, like maybe I'm expecting some sort of magical.
Yeah, you're expecting to be the Mozart of podcasting when we're all just doing the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That is, you summed it up. Because I sadly have to face the realization, as I did with this job for the first time, that I'm not great at everything, and it's not a good feeling, to go, oh, because you fool people for 25 years into thinking you're great at everything, and somehow you magically pulled it off with your people that are, very successful people in their field, and all of a sudden you're forced to go like, okay, maybe I'm not. And it wasn't a maybe I'm not. It's like, yeah, I'm not good at everything. This sucks.
I'm not perfect. It's good to actually come out and say that, though. Hear yourself say that. And it sounds corny, but you can't have your eyes set on perfection always. You got to like your little imperfections and what makes you you. What makes you, like the neurotic is interesting to most people. I mean, unfortunately, it's interesting, and it'll keep people coming back. So.
You think?
I think it will. I'll keep coming back, I mean, that's pretty much the end of the hour here. Just want to thank Mike so much, taking the hour out of your day. Got a little bit deeper than we normally do, and I do like that, and I really appreciate it, Mike.
I totally appreciate you having me on. I dig it, man.
So you got the After Disaster. That's one day a week. That's Tuesdays at midnight Pacific, right?
Thursdays actually.
Thursdays, okay, midnight Pacific, and it's always on iTunes the next day, right?
Yeah, I'll mention it. I'll mention that we did this tomorrow night. Or
awesome.
Is it tomorrow night? Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be tomorrow night. It's Andy
Darer. But I don't know if you want me calling you at 3 a.m.
Oh yeah, no problem either way. Andy Darer, though, it's hard to pronounce my name. I've had it mispronounced so many times. It's like Darer, yeah.
Okay. Text me or email me your phone number.
Cool, I will definitely.
I'm gonna call you this week, but we will at some point.
Awesome, sounds good. Follow him on Twitter. He's got some funny stuff. I like just the tweet about no. You're just practicing saying no, and I was hoping it wasn't about my show. Yeah. So
oh no, you wouldn't see it, but I get so many fucking responses to that. Like people were like, some people took it personally, like I was insulting them. Like I got a lot of responses to that, and I was just like, hey, okay, this isn't you.
Yeah, just being abstract there. But that's at Mike Carano. Pretty simple finding that. And MikeCarano.com for all the various projects you've been down with in your career, right?
Thanks, Andy. I totally appreciate it.
All right. Thanks again, Mike. And on behalf of Mike Carano, this is Andy Dare signing off for the Andy Dare Show. Be sure to follow Andy on Twitter. That's at Andy Dare, ANDYDERER, and like the show on Facebook. That's Facebook.com/The Andy Dare Show. Videos at YouTube.com/Andrew Martin Dare, and it all leads back to the AndyDareShow.com. Support our show by supporting our sponsors, The Man Great, Uncle Bub's award-winning barbecue, and Secondhand Mall, all in picturesque Westmont, Illinois. Thanks for listening.